Hello and welcome to another episode of Around the House. I'm your host, Steve O'Brien. And as you know from watching, we do home improvement shows, home repair, anything related to the home improvement industry. And tonight we've got a very interesting show. I have a guest in studio, Mr. Bob Burke. He's a carpentry instructor at the South Shore Votech. I'd like to introduce him now. Bob, thanks for coming in.
Steve, pleasure. Thanks for having me in.
My pleasure. We're going to have a great talk tonight. I've got a lot of questions for you.
All right.
And I'm sure everybody out there will be glued to the TV set.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became an instructor and your background a little bit?
Through Quincy Public Schools is where I got my start as an instructor. Prior to that, I was a home remodeling building contractor, had my own business in the city of Quincy. We did small additions and kitchen, bathroom renovations, decks, things like that. And found my way into Quincy Public Schools for 3 years. I taught a carpentry program at North Quincy High School, and then made my way to South Shore Votech. I've been there for 5 years now.
That's something I often thought about doing, but I stayed on what I was doing. And I know in the construction industry years ago, and even today, it's up and down. I mean, you're busy, you're not busy, people owe you money, you're always chasing money, and it's hard to really, it's a hard way to make a living. In a teaching job in that field, it's a steady paycheck, and you get to do what you love to do. Again, it's a great, I always tell the young people today, and I know so many young people that are between jobs, and there's nothing, they keep saying there's nothing good out there. If I could only take them by the hand and say, come with me, learn a trade, whatever it might be, carpentry, electrical. I personally think the electrical and the HVAC is the way to go. I mean, if I had it to do again, I might do that, but again, at my age, I know somebody who's in the industry as a general manager for a large HVAC company, and they can't get guys out of school. They as soon as they get out of school, people grab them up. And if they're halfway decent, my brother told, it's my brother by the way, he told me that if they're halfway decent, they keep them. They
Sure.
hang on to them like they were one of their prized possessions.
Oh, absolutely.
They give them everything they need, the tools, the van, everything they need, uniforms.
Yeah, a talented tradesman is a commodity that people are after.
You
for
can't
sure.
outsource that.
No, you can't.
You cannot outsource. Things
Yeah.
still always have to be built.
Yeah.
A question I'd like to ask you about the South Shore Votech, though, is what does the course include? In other words, there's a carpentry course is what they call it, right?
Yeah, our carpentry program is, the students come in as freshmen. First off, let me say in the school there's an exploratory program that all the students go through and visit many and most of the shops throughout the school. So they come in with an idea of what they want to do, but they may find through the exploratory
So they can change their what they want to do.
Yeah. So a young student may want to be thinking automotive, and he goes through the program and decides that he likes the carpentry shop, he gets along well with the instructors, and maybe that's the route he wants to take, so he can pursue that as well. He or she,
Sure.
So that's a great part of the program that we have. So once we get the students as freshmen, we start off with basic hand tools, intro to the milling process. All of our material comes in rough sawn, the students mill it, and they work on that aspect of the trade.
So you guys actually teach the students to prefab a lot of stuff, and you take it out to the site, or?
Well, so the underclassmen, the freshmen and sophomores, they're in-house, in shop, and they do the milling and cabinet making and introduction to residential construction. So they may build a shed, or do some things around the school. They'll build platforms and theater production. So that's for the first 2 years. And then as they go through the program, that's when I see them in their upperclassmen. And what we do is we go off campus and we do residential projects.
So you're the guy you see driving that little bus with the trailer attached to
That's
it.
right.
That's you.
That's right. We've got the trailer. We're off to
Nice-
Cape Cod Lumber
nice
or Home
setup.
Depot. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very good setup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new van, isn't it? A new
It is. It's just about, I think, we're 3 years now with that van. It's a great
Wow,
asset
and
to
you
the
get
school.
the trailer with all the tools in the back.
That's right,
on
yeah.
it?
Yep.
So how many students at a time go out?
We have average class is 15 students,
Mm-hmm.
and I average 9 students out in the field, 9 to 10. So we have anywhere from 4 to 5 staying back in-house to continue on and help the instructors with the underclassmen and work in the projects in-house. But again, 9, 10 students. My first year there, we did a addition at the Norwell Council on Aging, which was a great
wow.
project. The students carried that from the foundation right up.
Do the finish work and
to-
everything
They did
inside?
the
Really?
installation of doors, windows, all the trim, the sidewall, roofing.
That's
And
interesting.
with that, we had our HVAC students come in. They did the heating and air conditioning. The electrical students came in, did the electrical work.
Sure.
And our drafting students drew us the plans.
Wow.
So it's a nice collaborative throughout the school
Wow.
that everybody
That's
gets
quite
involved.
A program.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and I wonder how when you have the students out in the field or in the classroom, how do they how will you grade them as far as their performance? You just they're. I mean, you've got to watch out in the field. You're by yourself.
That's right, yeah.
You've got to watch 15 students maybe at a time.
Well, yeah, again, around 9 to 10 for me on average, But
It's still a
still,
lot.
it is a lot. It is a lot.
And it gets hectic on a job site.
Yeah,
So
and
you've gotta be
especially,
everywhere.
you've got different levels in the building, and you've got students working here, and you've got to back and forth.
And you're probably very concerned about safety.
And safety is the number one concern with
Yeah.
the school and with our program.
That
Absolutely.
would scare me.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to touch on this quickly because I'm in the more of the cabinet industry nowadays, where I'm older, and I'm always looking at new tools, the newest tools out there. And I noticed a tool, and they were trying to push this to a lot of the shops for these schools. It's called Saw Stop.
Yes, I've seen it, yes.
And this supposedly, they demonstrate this, a table saw, probably as big as this bench, and they run the blade, and you touch a hot dog to it, and it doesn't even scratch the hot dog. It
Right.
just stops the blade instantly.
Yeah, it's quite the tool, actually, yeah.
That's amazing. But then you have to take it all apart to put the whatever.
Braking mechanism, yeah, you have to
And
change
a lot
that
of
over.
these, I mean, that would scare me being a shop teacher as a young person using a power tool like that.
Yeah,
because
definitely,
it takes a second.
our number one concern is introducing the students to the tools properly and having them use them properly. And they are young, and they are high school
Kids are
students,
kids.
so kids are kids.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's, myself, Mr. Mariani, and Mr. Bodio, we're the 3 instructors within the Carpentry program, and we do keep a keen eye on that, and that is our focus.
But the number one thing is with the safety is you have to have strict discipline with the kids.
We do,
You-
and so students are expected to come in and act like workmen. Our goal is to get them work ready, so they need to be in uniform, they need to have proper protection. Eyewear, out in the field it's eyewear, hard hat, maybe a high-vis vest if required, fall arrests. In shop it's always the eyewear, ear protection,
Yeah.
and training on all the equipment. So definitely, yeah.
And nowadays, back when I was a young person, they didn't have the nail guns and stuff like that. Everything we did was by hand.
Right.
We did a lot of, again, when I was a kid in high school, we had a wood shop in the school, and I didn't want to take the courses they offered. I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to. They had a college and a business, and then home economics, where
Sure.
you could either take cooking, metal shop, or wood shop. So I took the wood shop, and it was depressing for me because they wouldn't let you. The shop teacher would pre-cut everything. I think we made lamps our first
Sure,
year.
I remember
I
those days.
spent a
yeah.
whole period just sanding.
Yeah,
That was my
yeah.
job, just to sand this block of wood that he made. I was
Yeah,
gonna make a lamp out
and
of
let
it.
you go and glue and put it together.
How am I
after.
going to learn anything?
Yeah,
You know, and so it was kind of a joke from my perspective.
Yeah,
It was a joke
yeah.
because they really didn't want anybody touching any power tools.
Right.
Because it wasn't like you guys. That's your specialty.
Sure. One thing I have to say, you remember in junior high when you had that shop too, and you were introduced. So the students coming to us may have never touched a tool before because those are gone throughout the schools. So their first intro to it is at our program. But we are train them and do expect them to use the tool. We don't hold their hand. We set them up, and we try to set them up for success, and they use the tools and put the projects together on their own. So it can be a challenge, but
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
But we're always, the day flies. We're always busy. The students start school at 7:35, and we're there until 2:30, and the day just moves right along. There's always something going on.
And you've always got a project.
Always have a project.
Can you tell us some of the projects you've done most recently?
Sure. Right now we're building a 32 by 22 foot footprint concession stand behind our school, and
wow.
it's going to have a hip roof, overhang, porch around the perimeter of it. It's a very nice little building.
So now in the wintertime, you're not doing too much outside.
Yeah, well, we are. Unfortunately, we got a late start. You know how it is in the construction industry. So we just started framing it right after just before the Christmas break, I think it was. So the students have the walls up, and we're beginning to do the ceiling and roof assembly. But earlier in the year, we finished up a nice garage for a resident.
I've seen that right by the Hanover Senior Center.
Yes, exactly.
I used to go by that all the time.
Yeah,
It came out really nice.
Beautiful garage the students built there with a nice pitch roof, a full dormer, set of interior stairs to go along with it. So we look for things within the frameworks so that the students can touch on all these things and get an experience with the real world work and get them work ready. And then prior to that, we did, like I said, the Norwell Council on Aging was one of the projects I worked on. We've done some nice sheds for residents within the town. We did a basement build out for a family in Rockland. Well, that was a great project for the students. So I did a little intro to some plastering with the students, just even.
I'd like to learn that.
Yeah.
Maybe you could teach me how to do that.
We've got a couple little YouTube videos that I put up of the students. SSVT carpentry students, and you can see them at work. But
that's interesting.
But yeah, we try to touch on as many things as we can with the students.
Well, like I was saying to you before we came on camera. When I was a young guy, I always wanted to learn every aspect of carpentry because there's so much of it. There's installing doors and windows, roofing, siding. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
And what I've seen happen more so in the commercial arena, because I was in that aspect of it, a lot of your commercial companies now specialize. In other words, all they do is acoustical ceiling.
Sure.
All they do is drywall. And I've seen guys that excel at that. They're the best in the business, and they can put up 400 sheets a day. I'm just exaggerating.
Yeah.
And if you can't keep up that pace, they lay you off.
Sure.
So you burn out at a young age. I mean, there's not too many older guys my age putting up 40 sheets of drywall a day.
No, exactly.
So what I always instilled it in my own mind was to learn all the aspects of carpentry, so that you could focus on maybe at some point in your life. I don't want to be shingling a roof when I'm 50 years old.
Sure.
I don't want to be out there in the cold and the snow. Yeah. So that's where I got to a point in my life where I said, I want to do the finish aspect. I want to do moldings and build out mantles. And
right.
I mean, again, that was my forte, and I just kind of went with it. And somebody might like framing for a
exactly.
Framing's a good business
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
That's the basics of everything.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing, and to this day, I'm very knowledgeable in a lot of things. But there's one thing I could never get my brain around, because I didn't do it every day, was laying out roof rafters with the square. I mean, I touched on it, and I have a vague, basic idea how to do it. But to step it off and to get it right, and I see these guys, they do hips and valleys, and they do the cuts and everything. It's like, because I've known a lot of framers in my day, and that's to me is a specialty. These guys.
It's one of the most challenging parts of framing. Is the roof, and stair assembly. If you have winders and things like that. So there are a lot of guys that specialize in the stairs, especially a finished set of stairs. I mean, it's a focal point of a home, so you really need to know your stuff there. But we do teach the students how to lay out and frame a roof from a common to a hip. Mm-hmm. And they need to understand how to do that. And like you said, there's a couple different methods, and students learn a different way. So some students may wrap their head around the step-off method. Others will use the calculating method, and they'll work their way through that. Sure. So we touch on all of that.
Do you have a certain way, like with, we'll say, roof framing? Would you give a student, say, maybe a drawing or something, and say, okay, I want you to lay this out, and I'm going to grade you on it.
Yeah,
Is that how you
absolutely. Yeah,
do
we
that?
do. And we have a related side. Mr. Mariani, our related teacher, during their academic week, they're 90 minutes in each day in their related class, and they're learning the book aspect of it, and they're learning the layouts and calculations and how to calculate the length of a rafter and how to lay out a set of stairs. So they're getting that there, and then they apply it out in the field. So they get it twofold, and it starts to click for them.
Hands-on.
Yeah, and by the end of their school year, they're expected to have that understanding of laying a set of stairs, a roof, wall assembly, floor assembly, along with the finished trim.
I wish I got into a program like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I've got no regrets because I came up through the ranks kind of, and you know, did my own thing, like I said to you a little while ago, and you know, you got to kind of find yourself. But that gives you a good basis. That program of where you want to, you know, where you want to branch out.
Yeah.
You want to frame, and frame is hard. It's hard work. I've done that. I've worked for guys framing, and it's a hard way to make a living,
carpentry is
too.
a great trade, and it's hard work.
It is hard
It
work.
involves the weather, whether it's hot or cold. But there's so many aspects of it that you, like you say, you can either do it all or try to do it all, or focus in on one thing that you're comfortable with.
And you'll always find, that's why I wanted to be into a lot of different aspects of it, because there was times when times were tough, and I always found work, whether it's building a deck, like I say, putting in a window, may do some siding, some roofing. There's always a way you can find. If you're only good at one, maybe you can only roof, and you never picked up all the other stuff.
That's right, yeah.
So you kind of get stuck.
Yeah,
in
no,
there.
you definitely want to have some knowledge in that bag that you're taking out there with you. And I've never had a day off in my career. I've always had somewhere to go, whether it was working on my own or for other people. And you know, now found my way into the teaching, and I enjoy it. And it's a great trade. And you know, like you say, the others, HVAC, plumbing, all great trades.
They are. And why don't we let's we got a minute before we get too close on time. I'd like to mention about the VOTEC as far as some of the other programs that they have. They were all very good. And one that I'd like to comment on from my own experience. I don't live too far from the VOTEC, and someone told me one time they have a little cafe there, and they actually have lunches there from, is it 12 to 1?
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
At
so
least
they
12 to
put
1,
a
maybe a
sign
little
out. They have
little longer.
Sign
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And it's called the Brass Lantern Cafe,
right.
I believe.
Yeah.
And the students put this, you'd think you're in a restaurant.
Yeah, yes, you do,
They
yeah.
wait on you.
Yes, yes.
It's just amazing.
It's an experience, you know. You walk in
and the
for a
kids
few
cook it all.
dollars, the kids prepare it all.
So
Yep.
that would be called the culinary arts.
That's right. Yeah.
but-
You know,
but-
and now that we're on campus, I've been there. This is my 5th year, and I just experienced that myself during my 30 minutes of lunch.
You go there for
I can
lunch?
sneak down and get a hot bowl of soup and a nice chicken meal.
What a good meal.
And
for the
yeah,
money, you
absolutely.
You can't buy a meal
Absolutely.
that cheap anyway.
And prior to the show, I stopped in and got my hair cut at the at the Cosmo. Young student, Mr. Bunker, he's about to graduate, and he cuts my hair for me during my lunch if I
so
can
you
squeeze
can
it
learn
in.
to be a barber
Yeah,
or a hairstylist.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And we have the automotive.
Okay.
3 great instructors there, Mr. Kessel, Mr. Hennessy, and Mr. Mashad. They've got a great program there.
So they
Auto
do-
body,
They do auto body. They do automotive repair too, right?
automotive repair, yeah, brakes, tune-ups, tire changes.
So if I bring my truck by there, they can.
You know,
They could get
yeah,
my
I'm
check
I'm
engine
sure,
light to
yeah,
work.
yeah, and you know, just mention my name and that might get you in. I don't know. But we have the auto body program, Mr. Campbell and Mr. DeAndrea. They take cars in and do auto repair. You know, the automotive. Sometimes they collaborate, which is great too. I know the students are putting together a hot rod right now.
You kidding?
As a project, and they're going to work together, and you know, so it won't be a fancy paint job. It'll be that flat black hot
Yeah,
rod
yeah.
look, and they're dropping
is
the
pretty
students
cool.
are
So
building and putting a motor into
They're
it.
gonna like display it like at the classic car shows. Or
Oh, I'm sure you'll see it at open house, and
have
I'm
the
sure they
Social
will.
VOTEC logo on it.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm sure they will. Yeah,
Wow, what
yeah,
a project! The kids must be all fired up
yeah,
for that.
yeah, it's very good.
Who
And
gets to drive it?
yeah, I don't know. Mr. Hennessy, I'm sure, over
Yeah.
there in automotive.
Wow, that's really good.
Good, yeah,
What else
yeah.
they got there?
Well, with drafting, and they do all our
That's
our prints.
It's all
for
done
us.
by CAD nowadays.
It's all CAD. They do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do some, but it is you know, mostly computer. generated. But they do all of our in-house projects that we're doing, the cabinets and anything like that that's going on, and then they do the drawings for us or make changes for us. I know like the Hanover garage we did, there was no dormer included in the project, and I suggested to the homeowner as something that the students could be introduced to, and he was right on board with it, and so our drafting students drew that plan for us.
Wow.
And
So they actually come up with the idea and they put it on paper?
Yeah, give us what, as carpenters, it's nice to have a path to follow, so we're not guessing.
You're not kidding,
You know how that
because
is.
I agree, because I've been there, done that, and
Yeah.
people say, well, what do you think? It's not what makes me happy, it's what makes the homeowner
Exactly,
happy. So
yeah,
if they see
yeah.
a picture in front of them, I could scribble something on paper, but it's not like an actual CAD drawing.
That's right. And that's, again, with the students, it's not a freestyle thing. They have to come in and follow the print, follow the
It's
program.
all part of learning how
Yeah.
to read a blueprint.
Exactly.
And that goes with the trade.
Yeah. They generate their own stock lists. They pick the lumber. It's not, it's nice to have it delivered, and we do. But I like to take them to Cape Cod Lumber once in a while and let them pick it and introduce them to the other contractors there. See them out in the field. Wildcat in Norwell. I don't know if you heard of that subdivision. They're building a bunch of new homes there. The Gallagher Company.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. J. Gallagher.
Very well known. Yeah.
So he invites us in so the students can see these beautiful homes being built at different stages. Talks about the engineered lumber, talks about
That's
his
big today.
Yeah,
The
talks about
engineered
some
lumber,
of his
yeah.
concerns that he has on the jobs. So on occasion, if the weather's bad or we're on our way to go somewhere, we'll drive through. We'll meet up with Mr. Gallagher, and he'll walk the students through, introduce them to the contractors that are working. And again, we show up. It's not a problem because they've got their hard hats on, their eyewear, their high vis vests. They're tradesmen, and they're coming in to
And
talk
they've
to
got
other
that
tradesmen.
thirst for knowledge.
And they're welcomed in there, and the students recognize that too. Driving
Wow.
through, they get the beep and the wave, and
Yeah.
it's part of
And
it's
they're all
something bigger
excited-
than
they're
what
all
they're
excited
yeah,
about graduating, and
absolutely.
they're going to be out there.
And then we try to get the students jobs. We try to
I was going to ask you that.
yeah, we try to work our way
So
through.
there's like a job placement
Yeah.
after graduation?
Yeah, we
Wow.
get calls and emails and letters to the school looking for graduates from
I
companies.
actually called you guys one time. I was going to hire someone out of there. I had I forget what it was. I needed somebody on a part-time basis for something. I can't remember what it was. And I actually connected with the person I was going to hire, and something fell through. I don't know what it was, and I couldn't go through with it. But
Yeah.
I forgot about that. But
Yeah.
that's a nice little.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
make a few bucks.
And the
doing it.
students can do a co-op. As upperclassmen, they can do a co-ops where they come in and do their academic and go to work out in the trade as their shop time. The only downside to that, like you said, you can get channeled into one thing. Go out and work for a drywaller or
They need cheap labor.
and they're just being used for, so we try to avoid that. We try to get them in places where they're going to be learning and be appreciated as a young up-and-coming
Yes.
carpenter.
Yep. And
so
you want to give them a good foundation
Absolutely,
for that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
the rest of their life they're gonna rely on
I
that.
know some of our seniors now, last summer, were working with contractors, and they could be out on co-op, but they decided they'd rather be on-site building the concession stand with their classmates and leave something behind.
And
So.
they're probably getting more of a learning experience that way, because if they have a question, they're not afraid to ask you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
what they're there for.
exactly. And
Wait.
that, again, that's part of our training, is to let the students know, don't be afraid to ask. You need to have the confidence in yourself to approach your boss,
Yeah.
ask them what's going
Definitely.
on. Can
Not
you
be
show me?
afraid to- yeah.
Because if you show them, they can do it. And
Absolutely.
that's what it's all about.
Now, Bob, I'd like to ask you, how did you, what kind of did you have to have some kind of a college certificate to teach?
Well, you need to have your construction supervisor's license. You need to pass a written and a performance test through the state. And then a college education, of course, helps, and you do need college credit. So what happens is after you pass and you get your initial license, you need to go and get 40 college credits to become fully licensed, but then you have to continue that all throughout. So we have to continually go back to school, take courses on, not carpentry, but teaching, dealing with students, different ways of instruction.
Yeah. And you still have to keep your building license.
And you do. You still have to maintain your
And
business license.
nowadays you have to upgrade. You have to take that that new refresher course now.
That's right,
Is it every year, every 2 years?
That's every 2, I believe.
Every 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I mean, you can never be too slack on that stuff. I
No,
mean,
we're always learning, and you can't know it all. And
No,
and things are always changing. The energy codes, the building codes are constantly changing, and you have to keep up with that.
Yeah, and you pass all this on to the kids, I'm sure.
Yep.
In their instruction. It sounds like a wonderful program. I just can't say enough good things about it. I wish I was a little bit younger
Yes.
and been able to go in a direction like these young kids. But
Yeah, if we only knew, huh? If we only knew back then.
Yeah,
And, you try to get these guys these young boys and girls to think about that, but they are young, and they'll find their way on their
They think
own.
they'll always be young. And,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
before you know it, here I am. It's like where'd all them 40 years in the trades go? I mean, I made a good living at it, but it was not easy.
One of the great things now, we growing up, we had to go to the book, or you had to go to somebody else to teach you.
Yeah.
But students now with the technology, which is great. We can talk about tomorrow. We're going to be putting in LVLs and trusses, and I'll do a lesson on it. But then I can also direct them to some things online that they can read, research, a couple of videos.
Yeah. Nothing you can't find.
So
online.
they're not coming in blind. They get a lot of information, and they're eager to learn it and watch it, and so it's great.
It's a great time to be a young person trying to, if you really want to learn a trade. And one quick last question. Do you find that is there a shortage of young people getting into these trades?
I know there's a shortage out in the field where I hear it from companies, like you said. They're looking for someone who is, has a record of showing up on time, knowing how to use the tools, knowing how to work safe, and then they'll teach them as well. So there's a shortage of that, and places like the VOTEC give students that edge.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
There was that college push, and college is great. And I tell my students, you can go to college at night. You can go to college after you get started in the trade as well. So
it's there.
It's definitely there.
And
they're college ready through the academic side and the shops. They're all college ready when they leave.
Well, it sounds like quite a program. I mean, I can't say enough good stuff about the South Shore VOTEC. I only wish I was in this jurisdiction when I was growing up. I was in a different area. Mine was Blue Hills Regional over there in Canton. And even back then I think there wasn't as many programs. I'm not sure why, but there was small programs like in the high schools, but they didn't teach you anything. They didn't take you out in the field. They didn't. Where these schools that focus on, that's what they teach you, and they take you out in the field.
One of the things now, we have some competition with some of the other high schools that have shops and put them in, but they only touch on it. They're only shop maybe 90 minutes. We have the students for 5 days, the entire day. So they go through cycles, 1 week academic, 1 week in shop. So they're really getting
it's a real one-on-one approach.
It's a real work environment.
You
ready.
Can't complain about that.
Nope.
That's fantastic. Well, Bob, I want to thank you for coming in today. It was very, very, very informative. I learned a lot, and I hope our viewers got some good stuff out of that. And if you're a young person and you're watching my show, by all means, it's something to consider, a trade of any kind, and you'll do all right. Everybody goes to college and they want to come out making six figures. Young people, and they end up working at a Dunkin' Donuts with a college education. So give it some thought.
Absolutely.
But I'd like to say thank you to everybody for watching today. My name's Steve O'Brien. You're watching Around the House. My website is finishdimensions.com, and you can email me at finishdimensions@yahoo.com. And Bob, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And now, if you have any more information you'd like to pass along to our viewers.
If you go on our website, at the South Shore VOTEC website, there's all kinds of information there. You can click up SSVT Carpentry students at work on YouTube. You might see a couple kids at work. And
there you have it. Excellent. Thanks again, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Have a good evening, everybody. We'll see you next time on Around the House.